This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Good morning, I'm Justin Warmoth. There are three candidates squaring off in the Democratic primary for Attorney General, vying for a chance to take on Republican incumbent Ashley Moody in November. This morning, Daniel Ufelder, a criminal defense attorney from Santa Rosa Beach, will take us through his platform and what he says separates him from the other two Democrats in the race.
I decided to run because we have an attorney general right now, Ashley Moody, who is not serving the people of Florida. She is acting as a personal attorney for the governor, whether it's signing on to a brief to overturn the election, standing in the way of allowing marijuana legalization to be on the ballot, standing in the way of the Affordable Care Act, suing cruise lines who want to simply have safety measures, or suing school boards that want to have mask requirements. She's not serving the interests of Floridians. I will be fighting for all Floridians, 22 million of us, and that's why I decided to run for Attorney General.
Tell us about your background. I know you're an attorney, born and raised in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm a second-generation Floridian. I was born in Miami. I grew up in Tallahassee. My mother's family, she's from Orlando. She grew up in Winter Park, and I still have family in Orlando. My father's from West Palm Beach. I grew up in Tallahassee, and I've been here in Northwest Florida practicing law for 21 years, having my own law firm. I went to Stanford University for undergraduate, and I went to Florida and Georgetown for law school. I worked at the White House. I clerked for a federal judge. I worked in the Justice Department. I've worked at all levels of government. I've been mentored by folks like Leroy Collins and Bob Graham and Lawton Childs.
I think there's one thing that you missed on that end, and that was a Grim Reaper. That was something that certainly caught a lot of headlines. Take us through that. The reason behind it, this was about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, really, at this point. And the feedback you got from being the Grim Reaper on the beach.
Right. It doesn't take long before that question comes up. Yes, yeah. I was also the Florida Grim Reaper. What happened was in March of 2020, Florida was just starting to feel the effects of COVID-19, and people were flooding to the state. The governor, DeSantis, was not taking precautions. I sued the governor to ask him to take safety precautions, which he did briefly by closing the state briefly. But then I saw that people were coming from all over the country, and we live in a small beach community here in Northwest Florida, and our medical doctors and our medical facilities were getting flooded we couldn't handle it. So I said, well, what can we do to draw attention to this forthcoming disaster? And so I said, well, what if I dressed as the Grim Reaper and traveled the state and tried to warn people about what was coming? And I did it in May of 2020. I traveled all over the state, and it was a little more, it took off more than I ever anticipated, really.
Yeah, and I know that probably spurred a little bit of where we are today. You saw the feedback that you received, and yeah, it was polarizing, but this country is polarizing. You know, we had some people, I imagine, that didn't like it, and they said, hey, listen, we're just trying to live our lives, and yes, we know the threat's out there, but we don't need someone in our face with this, and that's the way the country is. Right. And I'm curious, you know, back to why you're running and who you could potentially be running against. Ashley Moody, the current AG. In 2018, when she ran as with the campaign slogan, I am a prosecutor, not a politician. Now, after 4 years, how would you describe her first term as the chief legal officer for the state of Florida?
She's been an utter disaster. Yes, she did campaign as someone who would be not political, but that's the exact opposite of what she's done. In December of 2020, she signed onto a brief to overturn a valid election. Her own attorneys in her office called the legal theory batshit insane. It's not a legal term, but that's what they considered it. She's done things. She's sued cruise lines. She's basically carried the water for the governor, and that's not the job of the attorney general. When I'm attorney general, I don't care if the governor is a Democrat or a Republican. I don't serve at the pleasure of the governor. I serve at the pleasure of the 22 million Floridians that want somebody who's nonpartisan, somebody that's just going to be a lawyer. I'm not a politician. I'm a lawyer up here in North Florida. I'm in Walton County, Florida, which is, past two elections, voted 75% for Donald Trump. But people hire me not because of whether I'm a Democrat or Republican. They hire me because I'm a good lawyer. And that's what we need to get back to in this situation.
You know, this election has a lot of things that people are passionate about and a lot of key issues that they want to hear about before they make their decisions. Perhaps one of the most biggest, obviously, is the abortion access. And being Attorney General, you'll be on the forefront of abortion rights when it comes to the state of Florida now that Roe has been overturned and it is up to the states. What does that look like if you're Attorney General?
Well, yes, when the opinion was first leaked in May, the Dobbs decision, within minutes, I released a statement that said, as Attorney General, I will not be using the resources to prosecute women or girls that are getting abortion or doctors that are performing those. I don't think that's something the Attorney General needs to be involved in. And since then, Attorney Generals all over the country and state attorneys all over Florida and around the country have followed suit. So I've been very clear on that. Just recently, I joined on as co-counsel in a lawsuit filed on behalf of a synagogue in South Florida to challenge this new law on separation of powers, on religious grounds, privacy grounds. Florida has the right to privacy in our Constitution. We've had it there since 1990. The right to privacy has been repeatedly applied to reproductive rights by courts for decades. And the rights of privacy, these are private decisions that need to be made between a woman or girl and her physician. And I will fight tooth and nail to protect those rights.
So let's just play hypothetical. Let's say you get through the primary and you are going for the general and you get elected as the state's new Attorney General and Governor DeSantis gets reelected as the state's governor. What does that dynamic look like as someone who has just filed a lawsuit against the governor? And does that matter to you looking forward?
Well, one of the reasons I'm running is because of my disagreement with Governor DeSantis. The media has called me the chief tormentor of Ron DeSantis. I started a PAC called Remove Ron that I stepped down to run for Attorney General. We need balance in Florida. Clearly, I would prefer a Democrat be governor, whether it's Nikki Fried or Charlie Crist or whomever. But yes, if Ron DeSantis gets reelected, we need somebody like me to provide some balance, because right now, Florida, despite what people may think that Florida is a red state, Florida is pretty evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans and actually independents. And so, but the problem is that our government is run by one party, and that's not good, whether it's Democrat or Republican. And so right now we have no check on this Republican Party. And when I'm Attorney General, if for whatever reason Ron DeSantis gets reelected, I will provide a really good balance as Attorney General to whatever he continues to do.
I know this state is a large one, and not only with population, but just size, and it's tough to get around, but I know that you've been on the campaign trail. What have you been hearing from Floridians when it comes to what they want in an Attorney General and what they say is lacking? And what's been the biggest thing that what's the issue that they feel like is the most pressing?
I've been traveling around the state for months now, yes. And the issues that I keep talking about and I keep hearing about are the skyrocketing homeowners insurance rates are going on in the state, which are out of control, making it unaffordable. The problem is that the current Attorney General, Ashley Moody, is funded by insurance companies. So she's not looking at that. I'm going to look at that. No reason these homeowners insurance rates should be going up. And I'm going to fight that day one. Utility rates, Florida Power and Light, other large utility companies have a stranglehold on this state, whether it's with the prices of utilities or control of politicians. Florida Power and Light has been found to fund a shadow candidate in South Florida with the same name as someone they opposed. We're going to go after and look at these utilities. Ashley Moody doesn't, because she's funded from them. She's getting tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars from Florida Power and Light, Tico Energy, Duke Energy, insurance, rents. Rents are out of control in the state. Florida experienced a huge growth recently. And what the problem is there's developers who are taking advantage of this to the detriment of our citizens. And I'm going to go after these unfair rental prices that are jacked up tooth and nail. Reproductive rights. During this campaign, yes, Roe v. Wade was overturned. I am all over that. I'm going to be the most aggressive fighter for reproductive rights than any Attorney General we've ever seen. So those are the issues that I see day in and day out when I travel this state. Florida, I love Florida. I'm a second generation Floridian. I was born in Miami. I've lived in Gainesville. I've lived in Tallahassee. I've lived in Tampa. I've lived in Tanonas, Sassa. My mom's from Winter Park. My dad's from Florida is like a family member to me. And I just hate to see what's happening. Like in Orlando, where my aunt and uncle were some of the first employees at Disney. I remember fondly going to Disney. I mean, it was just such a joy. And to see what, governor and attorney general have done to Disney and trying to attack its tax status because they disagree with them, that's not right. And, Disney needs to be celebrated, and it needs to be all the things it brings. And Orlando is a great community. It's got so much to offer. And so, I mean, things like that I'm seeing where people are fed up with our politicians attacking people they disagree with.
What's interesting is that the Attorney General's job, and we hear it from Ashley Moody quite a bit, is when it comes to price gouging, but it always seems to focus around gas prices, and that's where it stops. And yet, what we've been hearing from everyday Floridians is that, yes, their homeowners insurance is getting out of control. These premiums are skyrocketing, and a lot of this is what you would call a price gouge, and there's nothing on that front. So what power does the Attorney General have to get to the bottom of that and to ultimately lower the cost of living?
The Attorney General has immense power in that situation. The Attorney General is on the cabinet. It's on the State Board of Administration. One of the people that's supporting me is Bob Butterworth. He was a former Attorney General for 3 terms. He went after tobacco companies before anybody else did. If Rob Butterworth can go after tobacco companies, one of my supporters, I clearly have the ability to go after homeowners insurance companies that are jacking up rates. Ashley Moody is doing nothing about homeowners insurance rates, utility rates, rental rates, because those are the entities that fund her campaign.
Would you be comfortable, and again, a hypothetical, would you be comfortable in suing the governor if you were elected Attorney General?
If the circumstances were such that it needed to be, yeah, I would. Whatever. When I'm Attorney General, I wake up every day, and I serve my clients. My clients are the 22 million Floridians, and my job is to protect their legal interests.
I want to move now to fentanyl, the opioid crisis, and it's something that I know that Central Floridians care about, and are affected by, and it's becoming seemingly worse, not better. Ashley Moody was asking the president to call fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction, to labelize it as that. Is that something that you echo? Is that something you would agree on with Ashley Moody? And how would you operate this opioid crisis? Would it be different, or how would you handle this?
Well, Ashley Moody is basically, if you track what she's doing, she's been on Fox News like every day, and all she does is attack President Biden, throw out these terms like weapon of mass destruction just to get attention. She's not trying to fix any problems. When I'm Attorney General, we have a huge drug addiction problem in the state. We have a huge mental health problem in the state. And those are things that feed crime and unemployment. And yes, I think that the opioid situation is hugely problematic in the state. And it's not going to be solved by throwing out names like a weapon of mass destruction. I mean, that doesn't solve anything. I mean, there's no, other than her getting some, press for saying that and for feeding her base for attacking the sitting president, it doesn't accomplish anything. And that's just been her pattern, where she just talks a lot and does nothing.
What about shoring up the borders, where a lot of this has allegedly been coming from?
Well, I mean, first of all, the Attorney General, in terms of, you're talking about whether drugs are coming from outside the state. Yeah.
Yes.
If that's the case, the Attorney General has authority to deal with that. Immigration, national agent has to deal with it. Federal government. I mean, there are all sorts of resources to deal with that. The Attorney General is primarily the legal attorney for the state of Florida. 90% of what the Attorney General does is civil types of things, whether it's dealing with insurance, civil rights, voting rights, human rights. It's not a prosecutor. I mean, the Attorney General only prosecutes in certain circumstances, when there's multi-jurisdictional cases where would go beyond one state attorney's office, and they handle appeals of criminal cases. The state attorneys of each circuit, which are ably qualified to handle crimes, do 99% of the prosecution. So, what the criminal aspect of what Attorney General does in terms of border control, I mean, there's ways I can assist in that, but I mean, It's really there. That's not the job of the Attorney General to secure the border of Texas and Mexico. She spent millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars to go to the border to have a press conference. That's not what the job of the Attorney General is. The Attorney General is to represent the people of Florida and not just be a talking head on Fox News.
What separates you from the other three Democratic candidates looking to take on Ashley Moody?
Yeah, I'm a North Florida Democrat who is, I've lived all over the state, but I've dealt and fought on issues with these Republicans tooth and nail. I'm talking about issues that are going to have cross appeal, like how we're going to deal with homeowners insurance crisis, utility crisis, the rental crisis, reproductive rights crisis. I've been on the forefront of those issues for a long time, but certainly during this campaign. I've got almost 4,000 donors to my campaign. I've got people like Bob Butterworth, Alex Singh, former judges, former esteemed attorneys like Martha Barnett, who was the president of the American Bar Association, supporting me. I've raised more money than those two combined. I've followed certain requirements, and I've just qualified for matching funds from the state of Florida. My two opponents did not even fill out the form. The form you don't have to fill out, you just have to sign your name. I mean, I am not a career politician, but I have a team that has won in this state. This is, in order to beat Ashley Moody, we have to be in our A game. Mm-hmm. We need somebody that can raise money, that has a large following. I've got 250,000 Twitter followers who follow me, and I'm able to message to. I'm able to articulate to folks who may not be Democrats. I mean, I live in Walton County. I live in the reddest of the red of Florida, and I understand how folks who may not agree with Democrats think and what matters to them, because I deal with it on a daily basis. I am the only candidate in this race that can beat Ashley Moody, and I plan to do it.
And a reminder, Florida's primary election is August 23rd, but early voting in Orange and Osceola counties gets underway a week from tomorrow. For a full list of the key dates and big races up for grabs, head to clickorlando.com/weekly. I'm Justin Mormith. Hope you have a great Sunday.